Welcome to Ultimate Success Online Tutorial. Today we will be enhancing our vocabulary on how to talk about doctors. This is the part 2 of this topic based on Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. In the previous video about the same topic, we talked about a few suffixes that help us determine the meaning of a word even if we are completely new to it. So, if you did not check it out already, check the part 1 to get more insight about the topic. The link is given in the description box below. Also subscribe for more updates and content. So let's get started. So in the last video we finished with talking about the doctors for children. So what do we call the doctor who treats the older generation? The healthcare of old people is called geriatrics. An expert in geriatrics is a geriatrician. Geriatricians deal with the support and care of elder adults. Another term that relates very closely to geriatrics is gerontology. Gerontology is a social science that studies aging and the impacts of aging on the population. So let's move to the next topic. What are the old people in the world mostly troubled by? Can you guess the next topic? So our next topic is bones and teeth. When people encounter pains, aches, difficulty in movement, who do they go to? They should go to an orthopedist. The word ortho means straight, and the study of correcting or straightening a functional or congenital disorder in the bones is called orthopedics. Congenital disorders are disorders that a person is born with, and functional disorders are the ones that a person develops with age, such as a person gets broken bones or gets a dislocation, etc. So, an orthopedist is a doctor who specializes in orthopedics. So when a person has any prolonged pain or discomfort in movement, etc., one should consult an orthopedist. The next word is rheumatism. Rheumatism is a disorder of muscles, tendons, joints or bones that is characterized by pain and discomfort. Thus, a doctor who expertises in treatment of such autoimmune conditions like gout, pains in the joint and muscles, osteoarthritis, scleroderma, etc., is a rheumatologist. Our next word is dentist. Dens or dent is a Latin word that means tooth. So a dentist is a doctor who is qualified to diagnose and treat diseases of the teeth and gums. Let's go to the next word, which is orthodontist. The word ortho means straight. The word dens in Latin means tooth. And the word tist indicates an expert. So, an expert of straightening misaligned teeth is an orthodontist. For example, if a person has uneven teeth, they go and get it straightened so their smile look very nice. They get braces to straighten their teeth. The person who gives us the braces is the orthodontist. So let's try a few similar words. Our next word of reference is arthritis. The word arthritis comes from the Greek word arthon, which means joint, and itis is a suffix that we learnt in the previous video, which means inflammation, discomfort, etc. So, an inflammation of the joint is known as arthritis. The next word is orthopnea. Punia in Greek means breath. Orthopnea is a condition of breathlessness that can be relieved by sitting upright or straight. So, when a person is having discomfort in breathing, cannot breathe right, is feeling breathless, that person is made to sit up straight, and thus they can breathe more easily. Such a condition is known as orthopnea. So, our next topic is eyes. When we have itchy or watery eyes, there is some kind of dysfunction in our eyes, it becomes red or it is uncomfortable. Who do we go to? We go to an eye specialist or an eye doctor. An eye doctor is formally called an ophthalmologist. The word ophthalmologist can be broken up into two parts for better understanding. It comes from two Greek words, ophthalmos, which means eye, and ologist, which means an expert. Thus, an expert of the diagnosis and treatment of the eye is called ophthalmologist. An ophthalmologist can also be called an oculist. The word oculist stems from a Latin word called oculus, which means eye. Our next word is optometrist. Who is an optometrist? When we go to the ophthalmologist, we often take the first step of we encounter a person who measures our vision. They make us sit on a chair and look into the mirror and read certain things. They try to measure if we have power in our eyes or how clearly we can see. So that person is an optometrist. The word optometrist can be broken up again for better understanding. It comes from opsis, which is a Greek word meaning view. The word metron, which means to measure, and ist is a suffix which indicates an expert. Thus, a person who expertises in measuring how much we can view or measuring our vision, how far we can see with the naked eye, is an optometrist. After seeing the ophthalmologist and the optometrist, if we see that there is power in our eyes and we need to get spectacles, who do we go to? We go to an optician. The word optician comes from the Greek word opsis, which means to view, and the suffix cyan, as we learned in the previous video. The word cyan means an expert. Thus, the optician is an expert who helps improve our vision. An expert in providing corrective aids to improve our vision. They give us spectacles or contact lenses, etc. Thus, the optician is a person who gives us other spectacles or the contact lenses to correct our vision. Our next topic is skin. So, the first word that we are going to discover is dermatologist. The word dermatologist comes from the word dermatology, which further stems from two Latin words. One is derma. The word derma means skin, and the word logi comes from logos, which means a study. Thus, a study of the skin means dermatology, right? So from the word dermatology comes the word dermatologist. So a person who is an expert in dermatology is a dermatologist. A dermatologist is an expert in the study and care of skin, hair, nails, etc. So let's try attempting the word dermatitis. Can we guess the meaning of the word by just looking at it if we are a complete stranger to the word? We can break the word dermatitis and try to guess the meaning. We can break this word into two parts. First as derma and the second as itis. The word derma means skin And the word itis, as we learned in the previous video, the suffix itis means irritation, inflammation, discomfort. Thus, a discomfort in the derma or the skin means dermatitis. Let's try a few more related words like epidermis. What does the word epidermis mean? Epi is a word which refers to something that is on top, that is above. So the word epi means above. The word dermis or dermos means skin. So the top layer of the skin is known as epidermis. Our next word is hypodermic. This word again can be broken up to understand its meaning. The word hypo means below, and the word dermic comes from the word dermos, which means skin. Thus, below the skin, something that goes below the skin is hypodermic. Our next word is pachyderm. What do we understand from the word pachyderm? The word derm means skin. So what does the word pachy means? Pachy means thick. So a pachyderm is an animal that has thick skin. Let's move on to our next word. So the next word is taxidermist. The taxidermist is an expert of preserving and stuffing the skins of dead animals with synthetic materials to create mounted lifelike displays. Where can we see the works of taxidermist? We often go to palaces to visit. There we can see the heads of animals preserved on displays. So that is the work of taxidermist. They take out the skin of animals, they put cotton and other synthetic materials inside, which make it look lifelike. That is the work of taxidermists. Our next topic is about doctors who treat women or problems that only occur in the body of women. So what do we call such doctors? We call them gynecologists. Let's break the word gynecologist. If you are completely new to the word, how do we understand it? We break the word down to get an insight and understanding of what it might mean. We can break the word into two parts for a basic understanding, the word gyne and the word ologist. Ologist is a suffix that indicates an expert, right? So what does the word gyne means? The gyne is a Latin word for women. This is the root word for the term gynecology, which means the study of women's health. So the word gynecologist comes from gynecology. An expert in gynecology is a gynecologist. A doctor who specializes in the diagnosis and treatment of womanly diseases are called gynecologists. So another term or another doctor for women is obstetrician. Who is an obstetrician? A doctor who specializes in pregnancy, childbirth and women's reproductive system is known as obstetrician. Nowadays in India, most doctors who work in this field or in this medical profession have qualifications of gynecologist as well as obstetrician. So when we see the word OB/GYN beside a doctor's name, we can understand that the person is a gynecologist as well as an obstetrician. Another term which is very common in the rural areas, not so much in the urban areas, is the term midwife. Who is a midwife? We often come across the word daima, who help women in giving birth, right? During childbirth, during child delivery. There are women who are not doctors, who are not nurses, but they help a pregnant woman give birth to a child, right? These women who help in the parturition process are midwives. They are trained people who help in the childbirth. Now, what is the word parturition? The word parturition means the process of child delivery. Okay? Let's move on to the next topic. So now we are going to talk about the experts of the stomach and the tummy region. Our first term would be gastrologist. So what is a gastrologist? Let's break down the word, get an understanding and get the meaning. The word gastrologist comes from the Greek word gaster. The word gaster means belly, and logist, as we learned before, it means an expert. It is a suffix that means expert. So a doctor who focuses on the problems of the stomach and the digestive tract is a gastrologist. Now we come to the word gastroenterologist. A gastrologist and a gastroenterologist. What is the difference? We will learn the difference in the meaning itself. We can break the word gastroenterologist into three parts. We broke the word gastrologist into two parts. We are going to break the word gastroenterologist into three parts. The first word, gaster, we already learned, it means belly. The word enteron. The word enteron is new to us, it means the intestines. And the word logist means an expert. Thus, a person, a doctor who expertises in problems in the treatment of diseases relating to our stomach and the intestines is a gastroenterologist, right? So with that, let's move to the next word, endocrinologist. What does the word mean? First, we break down the word. We break it into three parts. One, the word endo. Second is crine. And third is logist. We already know the meaning of the word logist. It means expert. The second part, crine. What does it mean? It means to secrete, to pour, to sift. So, something that is pouring. And what does the word endo means? The endo means within. So, something here is being secreted within, right? So, we are talking about some fluids that are being secreted inside our body. So, a person, an expert who is trained to deal with the fluids of the body, the hormones, etc., is an endocrinologist. The endocrine glands of our body are the ones that secrete and regulate hormones. The endocrine system includes the thyroid glands, pancreas, pituitary gland, adrenal gland, testicle, ovaries, hypothalamus. So an expert of the endocrine glands is known as an endocrinologist. So let us understand with a few examples of what diseases are treated by endocrinologists. So we already talked about the thyroid gland. So thyroid disorders are treated by endocrinologists. Again, diabetes, which is caused due to imbalance of secretions in the intestines, is caused by the endocrine system and is thus treated by an endocrinologist. So let's try a few related words. The word is hypoglycemia. So what does the word mean? Hypoglycemia. The word hypoglycemia can be broken up into three parts. The word hypo means low or below. The word glyce comes from glyco, which means glucose, and amia comes from the word ima, which means blood. Thus, we come across three words: glyce, hypo, which means below, glyce, which means glucose, and amia, which means blood, which means low blood sugar. Thus, low blood sugar levels means hypoglycemia. Our next word is hyperglycemia. So the opposite of hypo is hyper. Hypo is something that is below. Hyper is something that is exaggerated, that is high, that is too much. Thus, the word hyperglycemia means high blood sugar. So, what happens if we have hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia? We go to an endocrinologist. They tells us to check our diet. So, we go to a dietitian. So, a person who is an expert in giving us a balanced and nutritious diet is a dietitian. Our next word is nephrologist. So, who is a nephrologist? Let's break down the word and understand. The word nephrologist can be broken up into two parts. The first, nephros, and the second, ologist. The meaning of ologist we already know, which means an expert. So, what is the meaning of the word nephro? The word nephros comes from a Greek word, nephros, which means kidney. So, the study of the functions, care, diseases, and diagnosis of the kidneys is called nephrology. And a person, a doctor who specializes in the care and diagnosis of kidneys is a nephrologist. Our next word is urologist. So, what is a neurologist? Let's break down the word again. Let's break down the word into two parts, uro and logist. Logist, the meaning we already know. So, what is the meaning of uro? The word uro comes from the Greek word uron, and the word uron means urine. So, an expert of the urinary tract and reproductive health is a urologist. So, what does an urologist do? We have heard that people have kidney stones, stones in the bladder, UTI, pelvic collapse, etc. So, if a person has any such problems, they go to an urologist. The next term that we are going to learn is cardiologist. So, what does the word cardiologist mean? We are going to understand this by the same process we are using. We will break the word down and understand the meaning. We will break the word cardiologist into two parts. First, the word cardio and the second is the word ologist. The word ologist, the suffix ologist, we have already come across so many times. It means an expert. So, what does the word cardia mean? The word cardia is a Greek word for heart. Okay? So, an expert of the heart is a cardiologist. The study of the heart and the circulatory system is called cardiology. The branch of medicine that deals with the disorders, diagnosis, and treatment of the heart defects is called cardiology. Thus, a doctor who specializes in cardiology is a cardiologist. The next is a related term which is called vascular medicine cardiologist. So, what does the word vascular mean? Cardiologist we already know, medicine we already know, a person who So, what does the word vascular medicine cardiologist mean? The word vascular comes from the word vasculum. The word vasculum means a small vessel. Thus, we can understand that it has something to do with our blood vessels. So, a cardiologist who specializes in treating the veins and arteries outside the heart is called a vascular medicine cardiologist. The next we come across the term vasculitis. What is vasculitis? Vasculitis we already understand. It comes from two words. The first is vascule and the second is itis. Itis is a suffix we have already come across in the previous video. We have learned in the previous video as well as in this video. It means irritation, inflammation, discomfort. So, an irritation or inflammation in the vasculum is vasculitis, right? So, what is the vasculum? It is a small blood vessel. So, inflammation, discomfort, disease in the blood vessels is vasculitis. Okay? The next word that we are going to learn is pulmonologist. And we are going to break down the word again. We are going to break down the word into two parts. It is pulmo and logist. The word ologist, the suffix ologist means an expert. We have learnt multiple times in this video and the previous video. What does the word pulmo mean? The word pulmo is the Greek word for lungs. Thus, pulmonologist is an expert of the lungs. The study of respiratory system is called pulmonology. So it is made up of two words, pulmo and logos. From logos comes logy, which means study. The study of the pulmos is pulmonology, and a doctor who specializes in the respiratory system is a pulmonologist. He expertises in treating the diseases of the windpipe and the lungs. Okay? So a pulmonary disease is a disease of the lungs. So next we come across the word hematologist. What does the word hematologist mean? We will break down the word again to understand. The term ologist already means expert. We have come across several times. The word hematologist comes from the term hematology. Okay, so logy and logist, we already know the meanings. So what does the term hema mean? The word hema comes from the Greek word aima, which means blood. The branch of medical studies that study the blood, the production of blood, the diseases of the blood in human body is called hematology. An expert in hematology is thus a hematologist. Next we come across the term otolaryngologist. Ologist we already know, so let's break the word up and understand. We break the word into three parts. One is oto, the second is larynx, and the third is ologist. What does the word ologist mean? It means an expert. It is the most frequently used suffix in medical terms when we talk about doctors. Ologist is a specialist. Okay, so let's understand the meaning of the other two parts of the word. The first is oto. The word oto comes from otos, which means ear. The word larynx. Larynx. What is the larynx? The larynx is the voice box in our throat. It houses the vocal folds that help us speak. So, otolaryngology is a branch of medicine dealing with the conditions of the ear, nose and throat. An expert of the ENT portion, which we commonly call them. We call them ENT doctors, right? They are called otolaryngologists. Another term which we come across is rhinologist, which is very similar to the otolaryngologist, which is a subspecialty, you can say. The term rhinologist comes from the word rhino. The word rhino in Greek means nose, and the term ologist means an expert. So a doctor who specializes in the nose and the paranasal sinuses is a rhinologist. The study of the nose and paranasal sinuses is called rhinology. Thus, a physician who practices rhinology is a rhinologist. It is a subspecialty of otolaryngologist that we learned just now. Okay? Now we come across a term which is very common. It is called bronchitis. What is bronchitis? Itis we already know. It means inflammation. So bronchitis is inflammation in the bronchi, right? Bronchitis is an inflammation in the bronchi of our lungs. so it causes very much discomfort in our lungs. We have cough. That is called bronchitis. It is inflammation within the bronchioles of our lungs, right? Next we are going to learn neurologist. So what does the word neurologist mean? The word neurologist again can be broken up into two parts. The term ologist, the suffix ologist, we already know means an expert. So what does the word neuro mean? The word neuro means nerves. The word neurologist comes from the word neurology. What is neurology? Neurologist means the expert of neurology. What is neurology? Neurology is the branch of medicine that try to understand the disorders of our nervous system, of our nerves. Okay? So neurology is the study of our nerves. The doctors specializing in the treatment of the brain, spinal cord and the peripheral nerves are neurologists. Our next word is psychiatrist. The word psychiatrist again can be broken up into two parts. The word for the first part comes from the word psyche, which is a Greek word which means soul or the mind. The second part, aya, comes from the word atria, which means healing. So, healing of the mind, right? A doctor who specializes in healing the mind to maintain our mental health is a psychiatrist. Our next word is psychologist. A person who expertises in the study and diagnosis of normal and abnormal mental states is a psychologist. Okay, so the word psychiatrist and the word psychologist both deal with the mind. How do we understand the difference? Okay, now we are going to understand the difference between psychiatrist and psychologist. A psychiatrist is a medical professional who administers medicine to cure a mental illness. Okay, while the psychologist engages in therapy, in sessions, in talk therapy. They try to engage a person emotionally, psychologically, to treat their mental imbalances and to stabilize their behavioral states. Okay, so a psychiatrist can administer medicine to treat mental problems, while a psychologist engages in talk therapy to balance a person's behavior and emotions. Okay? Oncologist. The next word we come across is oncologist. The word oncologist again we are going to understand by breaking it up into two parts. The first part is onco and the second part is ologist. The word onco comes from the Greek word onkos, which means mass, burden or tumor. Okay? And the second part, logist, we already know it is a suffix. It's the very common suffix when it comes to talking about doctors. It means a specialist, right? So an oncologist is a person who deals with the prevention and diagnosis and treatment of cancer. The study of cancer is called oncology. A doctor who provides medical care to the person diagnosed with cancer is an oncologist. Next, we come across the term radiologists. Who are radiologists? Specialists who are trained in diagnosing the treatment of injuries and diseases by using medical imaging procedures like X-rays, PET, CT scans, etc. are radiologists. So when we go to a hospital or a nursing home to get an X-ray or a CT scan, the person who helps us with the CT scan, who understands the meaning and gives us the report, is a radiologist. Next we come across the word immunologists. So we can have a rough guess that it has something to do with our immune system, right? What is the immune system? The immune system is the inbuilt fighter mechanism of our body. It is the fighter mechanism that deals with outside germs and diseases that helps our body stay fit, right? So, immunologists are also known as allergists. They are doctors who are specially trained to diagnose, treat, and manage allergies, immunodeficiencies, and immunologic disorders. Okay? Examples of conditions when we need to visit an immunologist are Rett syndrome, then there's sarcoidosis, etc. The next we come across the term Anaesthetist. Anaesthetist, we might have heard plenty of times, but what is an anesthetist? Anesthetist is a person who administers anesthesia to a patient when they are undergoing surgery. They make the body numb so the patient does not feel any pain. The word anesthetist can be broken up into three parts. The word an means without. Aesthesis means sensation, which means without sensation, and ist means an expert. So a person who is helping a patient to be without sensation for a monitored period of time is an anesthetist. A medical practitioner who administers anesthetics is an anesthetist. So what is anesthesia? Anesthesia is a controlled loss of awareness or feeling induced for carrying out medical surgeries without causing immediate pain. Okay, so during surgery, so that the patient does not feel any pain, anesthesia is applied. Okay, so what is the opposite of anesthesia? The opposite of anesthesia is kinesthesia. Okay, it means the sense of muscular movement. So I hope you liked the video. We tried our best, and if there is any questions that you have, any doubts that you have, please comment and let us know about your questions. If you liked the video, let us know in the comments. Please like, subscribe and share. Okay, thank you. Hope to see you again. Keep studying, keep enjoying our channel, and keep sharing.